Can I get a show of hands for all my veterans, active duty, military, reservists, or anyone who qualifies for a VA loan? If you're looking to buy a home, have you looked into the benefits of a VA loan? Do you know if you are eligible? Well, this video is for you. Today I'm just going to go through the VA Addendum, which is required if you're purchasing a home with a VA loan, and just explain the addendum to you. There's a lot in it, and it's helpful just to understand what is required of you when purchasing a home with your VA loan. So today let's talk about the VA Addendum. There are 8 sections on this addendum, and I just want to go through them briefly so you understand what they mean and what you're signing when you sign this addendum. This addendum is required if you're using a VA loan to purchase a home, in addition to the purchase contract and any other addendum. So section 1 of the VA Addendum just states that you are going to live in this home as your primary residence. The VA does not allow a home purchased with their loan program to be a rental or an investment property. So you have to be buying the home as your primary residence. The second section, super self-explanatory. Are you doing an FHA loan or a VA loan? We check the box. This addendum is also used if you're doing an FHA loan. Section 3 basically, in a nutshell, states that the VA is not going to loan you more than the home appraises. In the market we have right now, we are doing an appraisal gap. So check out this video popping up right now about appraisal gaps so you can understand what that means. But basically, if your appraisal on your VA loan comes in under what you're under contract for, the VA is only going to loan you what it appraises for. So in that event, we would need to renegotiate with the seller, or as a buyer, you may need to come to the closing table with cash to make up the difference. That's the appraisal gap. So again, check out that video because that will explain everything that says. The second part of section 3 just says that the VA doesn't guarantee the condition of the home. So prior to closing on a home, we're going to do a home inspection. And that's where you guys as buyer know, hey, this is what we're getting into when we purchase this home. It's an FYI for you. And then we kind of look for big ticket items, maybe renegotiate with the seller, maybe not. Depends what we did in the purchase contract. But the VA wants you to know what you're getting into because they're not going to guarantee the condition of the home. Section 4 is kind of a hard one to explain. So whatever amount we put in this section is what the seller would be responsible for in the event that the appraiser comes back with items that must be fixed on the home before we can close. So this is appraisal required repairs. Totally separate and different from your home inspection. These are special requirements that the appraiser has said must be fixed prior to closing on the home. Some of the things that come up, you can't have chip paint on door frames or really anywhere. So if there's a deck that needs to be redone or wood trim around the doors, typically those are things that come in. Window well covers sometimes show up, railings on stairs, and a bad roof is going to be a big one. So whatever number you put in section 4, the seller's responsible up to that amount. If it exceeds that amount, then we go back and renegotiate. But these items must be completed and the appraiser has to go back out, check them off to say they've been completed before we can close. Section 5, the seller is required to provide to the lender a pest report control. Basically what they're looking for are termites. So an average termite inspection costs about $89, $90, no more than $100. However, if they find termites, the cost to eradicate those can be pretty pricey. So in the event that you have termites, it is something you would need to work out with the sellers to get them eradicated. But they do have to pay for the pest control report. So typically on this section, I put in $100, that covers the report. I'm not going to say we don't have termites in Utah. Sometimes we do, but I've been doing this a very long time, and I can say I've maybe had 1 or 2 termite reports come in positive. So normally I just put $100 in there and the seller pays for the report. You sign it at the closing table that there are in fact no termites. Section 6 Section 6 talks about closing costs. So in a normal purchase contract, the buyer pays their closing costs and the seller pays their closing costs. In a buyer's market, you can ask the seller to contribute some amount of money towards your closing costs, which you get at closing, and then as a VA buyer, there's no down payment and you wouldn't have to come in with closing costs. Right now, 2021, it's a seller's market, and so there is no asking for closing costs. So Section 6, we've been putting in 0, and even VA buyers are having to come in with their closing costs. So something to think about. You do need some cash as a buyer, even when you're using the VA loan right now, just if for nothing other than your closing costs. Section 7 on this addendum does not apply. That's only if you're going with a FHA loan. And then the last section, number 8, basically you have all this verbiage in the purchase contract and addendums, but at the end of the day, if you've used the VA addendum, VA rules win. Any rules or laws in the purchase contract or the addendum will be governed by the VA addendum. So VA addendum wins. If you aren't sure if you're eligible for a VA loan, don't know about your eligibility, drop your email in the comments below and I will email you the VA eligibility guide that I have, and it also kind of just walks you through the process of using a VA loan. Watch this next video popping up too about the home buying process and then just living in northern Utah. If you have any questions, of course, drop them in the comments. Feel free to call, text us anytime, and subscribe to our channel if you are interested in learning more about living in northern Utah.